Hey,
Hey,
welcome to another online training session. And we're live. How you going? Welcome everybody to an energetic arts online training session. Today, Sarah has decided to jump on for a moment and off again. So we're going to sort of pick up where we left off last week, and that is that we started off with the frame that the dream world is the precursor to the real world, and that we lay our foundation in there through thoughts and emotions, and then over time, through time, that begins to manifest in the physical. And along with that, we sort of had also the idea that the modern idea, the contemporary idea, that it's more like a simulation or a matrix, and it's programmable. And I recently posted up a video of something I did nearly 6 years ago, and what that went into was that if it is that way and it's programmable, then and there's no real meaning to any of this, it can mean whatever you want it to mean. Then why don't we turn it into a playground? Why don't we make it fun? Why don't we manifest the things that we want in there? And it doesn't mean we have to, throw caution to the wind and get totally out of control and so far removed from reality that, it's unrelatable to others. But we can start to do little things and make little changes, so we can start to live the life of our dreams, let's say. And so in the training module, the syllabus, let's say, the curriculum, I had a great mentor. He said, all he did was hot seats. He had his repertoire of tools, and he just did hot seats. And he said, I don't really have a curriculum because you are the curriculum. And so with these online training sessions, I know it's kind of difficult because we're separated by, time, space, the internet, and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately what we're doing here is we're tapping into the internal world here, and we're reorganizing it in ways that are more useful to us. And so we talked about a few levels last week, the animal totems. And these animal totems, the qualities of them, I use these all the time to manifest the life that I have. And, life's pretty good for the most part. I have my challenges just like everybody, my ups and downs. I have to deal with, emotions like fear and doubt and insecurity as well. And just like a martial art, the more you're into it, the better you get, the harder the challenges, right? And so you're always evolving, and you're always going for that next thing. So if everyone who's listening in can just sort of hit the like button and comment and make sure everything is working, the sound, the audio, I'm not glitching up on you guys. I've got my streaming software over here, which is happening live, and then I've got Facebook over here on mute, and that's kind of got a bit of a lag to it. So if anything goes astray, just yell out. Now, alongside of all this, this personal journey of manifesting our desires, our dreams and goals, things like that, there's this concept that's getting more legs now in the mainstream, that the human race is going through this leveling up process, this awakening. And there's even stories that there is gamma rays being blasted from across the universe to our planet, and that's affecting the energy and raising the consciousness. Now, whether this is true or not, I want you to think about it in terms of programming of the mind. So a while ago, I did a video where I was getting right into this awakening. Yeah, Jared's on board. Awesome. Thanks, bro. By the way, guys, there is a link I've put up in the comments. If you wanted to share the stream, that's the link for it. And then you can just sort of wave to me and say, I want to come on and have a chat about something. I'm quite happy to do that. So I did this video a while back, and I talked about the subject of hypnosis. All right, and this guy that I was learning from, his name is Joel Roberts. His name is Joel Roberts. He's still alive, I hope. I think he is. Pretty sure he's there. And he did a course called The Language of Impact, and he talked to a group of us about the question was, if you had a chance to get on Oprah for 30 seconds and do your elevator pitch for your business, your idea, would you be ready? And the answer is no, I wouldn't be ready. Like most of the audience wasn't ready. And so he would get up and he would get us up on the hot seat, and he would listen to our idea, and then he would refine it, and then he'd put it into media speak for us, so it was more impactful. And he would talk about how to put ideas into people's minds, and he used this thing called the language of impact. And what he would do, to give you a visual, is he would almost write these hacks of the mind that would verbally go into your ears and into your mind, and then they would unzip like a file, and you get the whole picture, and you just get the concept, and it would land. And people, if they heard your pitch and they liked it, then that was all that you needed to say. And the reason why I go into this is because we saw that the media is programming us so much. Like people hear this all the time. Oh, you're being programmed by the media. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. It's a bit of this brainwashing thing, and the news is, pumping out bad crap into my ears all the time, and people go on detoxes of media and all that sort of stuff and social media. But when he talked about the language of impact, and we understood what a moment of impact was, a soundbite, he said, we're going to go through all this. We're going to go through the program. I'm going to teach you what a moment of impact is, what a soundbite is. And then tomorrow we're going to watch 60 minutes, and you're going to see it with a whole new set of eyes. And so once we learned how this worked, we watched the first 60 seconds of 60 minutes, and there was 27 to 30 moments of impact within the first 60 seconds. Now, and that wasn't like ideas or suggestions that you could consider. These were structured, uh, neuro-linguistic programmable sound bites that would hit you like a boxer would hit you in the ring. And so imagine getting in the first 60 seconds of getting in the ring, you get hit nearly 30 times. That's the kind of influence that is out there in the field, right? That is constantly directing your thoughts and emotions to create a particular reality that you're not really in control of. And so if that's the case, and everything in our physical world here is all precursor to from thoughts and emotions that start in the non-physical, and there's this media machine, for example, that is directing your thoughts constantly towards a particular reality that you haven't chosen, maybe not consented to, maybe don't know there's other options out there, so you just go along with it. Or you've been indoctrinated since you were a kid so much that you don't even know any other options exist, then it's kind of like, we're being hypnotized all the time in a particular, to collapse reality in a particular way. So when you start out on trying to manifest your reality, the belief is not quite there, right? Because you're like, well, how do I do that? Because I think this way, I feel this way, I've been doing it all this time. I don't know how else to do it exactly. So when you talk about manifesting your reality, it sounds a bit woo-woo to me. But the mechanics behind all of it are still working perfectly. And coming back to what I was saying earlier, is I thought, well, if this is how it works, then, I look back in other stories that I saw growing up as a kid. If it's there and it can sort of keep you enslaved, let's say, whether you're aware or not, whether you're consenting or not, whether you're there of your own volition or not, then, and the mechanics work perfectly, then it can work the other way too. It can actually work to create whatever you want. You can alter and change your personality, your behavior, your interactions, how you live your life, how you perceive your reality as well. And so one of the stories that, was really impactful for me growing up as a kid was Superman. And the story, everyone knows Superman. He's this alien from Krypton, and he comes to Earth, sent, by his parents from the exploding planet before it dies, goes all the way through space, learns along the way inside this little capsule. I think it was the libraries, the entire contents of the libraries of the 23rd known universes, I think it was, that he had access to from an infant, right, going into the subconscious mind. No conscious critical mind in the way at that stage. If you look at the psychological development model of an infant, they're wide open. They're usually in an alpha state or a dream state while they're walking around, trying to understand what the world is. And I thought to myself, well, everyone knows that Superman's this alien. The sun was a key factor that made him made his abilities get stronger as he got older. And of course, okay, an alien in a different solar system, sun giving out rays of a different frequency, having an effect on his Kryptonian biology, we can go, okay, that sort of makes sense in a fanciful way. But then I had this idea. I thought, okay, what if the magic isn't like the magic that we think, that we're led to believe in entertainment? What if the magic is actually how to reprogram the mind? And the magic is the skill and the understanding, the scientific, the medical, the psychological, the biological, all those synthesized together. Add language in there, which is, a programmable medium for the mind. And what I mean by that is that when I start talking like this, I'm making these sounds, and those sounds go through the airways, and you receive them on your device, and then your brain transduces all those sounds into things it's familiar with, and makes words and phrases out of them. But more importantly, you start to have visualizations. You start to dimensionalize a reality inside your mind. So when I say Superman, you might think of Christopher Reeve or Henry Cavill or whoever, and you get an image of Superman. So I thought to myself, what if this story of Superman is just someone who got hypnotized in a really skillful way to move beyond all the limitations. That was their foundation. And they got suggestions put into their mind, like something to the tune of, I can't remember word for word, but the yellow sun of Earth, your cells will drink up all that energy, and it will give you almost limitless powers. It will grant you superhuman speed, all these things, and strength, and all that sort of stuff. And as you grow older and you see the sun anchor, it's an anchor in the mind. As you see it every day, not only is it anchor that you're looking at it all the time, or you're aware that it's there because it's shining light on the day, and it's reinforcing the thoughts that were there, laid in very early in life at the operating level. And what that also does is it anchors all those reinforcements in a place in the mind where there's no doubt, right? If I said to you tomorrow, do you have any doubt that the sun's going to rise tomorrow? You'll go, oh, that's ridiculous. Of course it's going to rise. It's been rising ever since I can remember. Chances are, unless something drastic happens, so radical, it's going to continue to rise tomorrow. So each time that reinforces that belief in the mind every single day, it's like going to the gym every day for the mind, only it's on autopilot, right? It gets reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. So that's why we see Clark as a boy, have amazing abilities for his age. And then as he gets to an adolescent, now he's running alongside a steam train, or he's kicking a ball into the next state, And then eventually, as he gets to be a young man, now he's developing the ability to fly and all these other things. He's building upon the thoughts that were laid in as a foundation as a child. And this, this is not woo-woo. This is public knowledge. It's science. Pavlov's dog. Anyone who's trained a dog, my dog Marley, she knows a lot of different commands, and she understands a lot of different things. Whether she chooses to obey them or not is a different story. But just before we started the broadcast, I've got some pieces of chocolate here, and I can guarantee you that if she came into the room and you could see the camera, I wouldn't even have to speak. I'd hold up a piece of chocolate and she would sit down, right? And she can't help it, right? It's a Pavlov's response. It's so conditioned into her since she was, the day we got her, that when she chooses to consent to that command, she's got no choice but to do it. She has a desire to sit down to get that chocolate. And so these are some concepts we can use as a foundation to get our head into the space of, if this is just, and this is another useful frame, if this is just like a computer game simulation, albeit a very sophisticated one, like super advanced technology to the point where you cannot distinguish the difference between reality and fantasy, that every sensation is so responsive, immediate, direct, that there's no lag, that it seems real, right? Your brain interprets everything as being real. Then there must be a way to get into that operating system and start to change the code, right? And you can use these concepts as a basis to build your new belief system, just like, Kal-El before he became Clark and then became Superman. Now, here's another interesting topic. Recently, something in my field has come up, and the concept of role play has come up a few times through different people. And we'll go back to the Superman example. Say you're Clark Kent. You're the Clark Kent deciding you're going to start to make these changes. You're going to start to create your reality from a different point of view. And your goal is to be Superman. Now, this is not for just the guys, men, women. You insert yourself and adjust it to yourself, right? Change the character, whatever. Just follow me on the concept. How difficult do you think it would be to move from Clark Kent to Superman in terms of thinking? There'd be a lot of struggle. There'd be a lot of strain. There'd be doubt. There'd be disbelief. There'd be all this resistance pulling you back into the identity of Clark Kent, the mild-mannered, not confident boy in the country town, getting bullied by the jock, so to speak, and getting ignored by Lana Lane, for example. To move into the role of Superman is a big jump, okay? And this is where a lot of people, when they get into manifesting, they're like, but it doesn't work. I tried it, it doesn't work. I did positive thinking, it doesn't work. I meditate, still nothing changes, right? Imagine you go there and you go, okay, Clark Kent to Superman's a big jump. But what if we go the other way? What if I go back into my past to before my conception or before my awareness of who I am? And I lay in this idea that maybe I'm not Clark. Maybe I never was. Maybe Clark's just a veneer. Maybe Clark is just a cover, right? It's to keep it's to blend in. It's a camouflage. What if really I'm Kal-El, and Kal-El comes from a planet Krypton, from another place in space, from another time. And not only that, my parents were in the upper echelon of society. My father was the leading scientist for the planet, and Krypton was a super advanced futuristic planet. So you can't even imagine the kind of mind that this guy had. And they're my genetics. They just get passed down. So I have this genetic propensity of being an absolute genius from a super advanced futuristic scientific race, where my father was the number one mind on that planet. Now things start to change. Now Superman seems almost probable, right? It seems like, well, yeah. Okay, so now instead of going, Clark Kent to Superman, I can't do that. Now the mind can have a bridge and go, okay, whenever I'm Clark and not Superman, and I want to be, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe the reason is I'm still having to blend in, Maybe I'm still having to keep my family safe or something like that. There's justification for it not happening when you want it to happen. Now, the other thing along these lines, okay, because most people get in, they're like, oh, I want to manifest a job. I want to manifest money. I want to manifest a relationship. I want to manifest a new house. I want to manifest, you name it, whatever it is. It's still inside the frame of everyday life, right? There's nothing supernatural about that, although it helps to have all those things. When you look at it from this point of view, it's like, well, we're not just talking about manifesting things within the three-dimensional frame of the media telling us how life is, right? We're manifesting from a frame here where it's pretty limitless. You know, like if we use the concept of the Kal-El Clark Kent Superman, well, you look at his abilities are pretty limitless. You know, they're godlike. So the thinking, the frame that which you view life from has to be in coherence with that, synchronicity with that. It's like, okay, let's come from a godlike perspective. What would it be to think like God? What would it be to think like everything in your reality is completely malleable and all it requires is the right code, thinking, emotion, coherence, sequence, pattern for it to show up in your life? Now that changes things. There was a saying in when Joseph Campbell was interviewed for, he was talking about the hero's journey. I think it was The God of 1,000 Faces or something like that. I can't quite remember the title. They're talking about the Indian god Brahman, and he said, you know, Brahman was such a powerful god that every time he opened, a universe was created. Every time he opened his eyes, the universe was created. Every time he closed his eyes, the universe was destroyed. And if you just take a moment, take everything in around you, look around your room. Well, you don't have to look around, but take in the periphery while you're looking at this video. And just close your eyes for a second. And realize that the only thing you really have to know that it's all still here is your memory of it. Right? Close your eyes. Yes, you might be getting sensations of sounds and things like that. You may feel the seat under you. But what if these are all just signals your brain's interpreting in a vat somewhere, for example? Maybe none of it's actually real. It's all just sensations that are being broadcasted out from your subconscious mind that, like a submarine ping, come back and they interact with you again and give you a signal. And it's so fast you don't even know it's happening. When you go internally and you close your eyes, go into the void, essentially, where there's nothing. But in that nothingness, or that emptiness, there's not nothing in there. There's infinite potential and information in there. And so, like one of the lines in the movie Inception, don't think of a blue elephant. What's the first thing that happens? Boom, you get a blue elephant pop up. And this is the other thing that I learned early on in NLP, is that the mind doesn't really work with negations very well unless you're using them as a particular strategy. So like not thinking of a blue elephant, it's not really going to help you not think of one. This is why Jerry and Esther Abraham Hicks teachings are very good, because they're always forward focused. And creating programs in the direction you want to go in, going downstream with things. You got the wind at your back, so to speak. You're using the momentum of the system itself, the propulsion system of the system itself, to work in your favor. So that's a pretty big frame, right? People go, I used to go to these workshops. People say, "Oh, I want to be unlimited." It's like, well, it's probably not what you think it is. When you get it, it's kind of overwhelming. Because really, if we're going unlimited, and bear with me a moment, it's like, let's see if I can show you an example. Just quickly, no, I don't have it there. We can do it without it. So, like I said, going into the mind and closing your eyes, you go into that black space void. That's the unlimitedness. There's nothing there. There's nothing staining that. It's pure potentiality. And, when you think of yourself going in there as your identity, you're taking that in with you. But even that is just a character inside the frame. It's like, when Jim Carrey played Andy on Man in the Moon, and he got lost in the character, when he finally found himself, he's like, well, maybe Jim Carrey's a character as well. Just like maybe Clark is just a character and the true personality was Kal-El. Maybe who you think you are is just the character, and who you really are is, the Brahman underneath it all, creating the worlds, the universes. So it's a pretty big frame, because when you're there, you're kind of just sitting and chilling, and you're like, okay, well, it doesn't help me pay my taxes. When I come back to my body and my character, I still have to be me and do that. Drag my body around to the accountant and pick up the telephone and all that sort of stuff. Because it's such a big, vast frame. It's like, all right, well, how do I actually ground it? How do I pull it down? And so in the years ago, early 2000s, when the short film The Secret came out, there was this guy there who said, just start off small. Start off with manifesting a cup of coffee in the morning, or a parking space, or, if people want to manifest money, he says, I just see checks coming in the mail. And they had these little visualizations, and people had something to work with. But it was all very much stuff-based. It's almost like house, car, job, relationship, health. And that's all good. If you're starting out, that's all you can think of. Go with that. But in these trainings, we want to move beyond that. We want to move into this supernatural space where we are not trying to make the third dimensional reality that we've been conditioned into more comfortable. We're trying to get our consciousness out of it altogether so we can look in on it and interact with it, intervene or not. And so to break things down a little bit, and because my background's in martial arts and over, and sport, and even in those realms, dimensions, there were always levels, like a video game, to work with. And it allowed you to sort of break a piece off, break the concept down, and work on pieces. That's when I created these animal totems. And it was kind of by accident, because it was an object in the exercise that I was doing. And I said, focus on something that doesn't really matter if it manifests or not. You're not going to lose any sleep over it. And I thought, animal totems. And I've got a book here somewhere. Yeah. I got this book a while ago. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, Animal Speak. And it just, it's like a book, a tarot card book almost. You find an animal you're sort of resonating with, and it gives you all these examples. Like recently, the armadillo has been coming up a lot. There's an armadillo manifested probably right after the fox, actually. It's not even on the list yet for here. But it says, like, armadillo keynote, personal protection, discrimination, and empathy. So these are good qualities you want to have, when you start to get all this abundant power to manifest things. Hey, Kate, thanks for joining in. And it says, like, the cycle of power is year round. So this is something you can focus on any time of the year, which is kind of cool. Because part of the training that I did with my group in Melbourne, after, the first year, it became very obvious that we couldn't train the same things all year round because the temperature was different, the weather was different. So training needed to be seasonal, and it would need to be specific to what we were doing throughout the year. And what was cool is that, when you're 2, 3, 4 years into these cycles, you, like I said, with the sun popping up every day, is that you start to reinforce these areas of the mind. And not only do you get a second chance at it, like next summer, next spring, winter, autumn, not necessarily in those order, is that all the training you did in the other seasons start adding and stacking for your next, say, winter season. So next winter is easier to do the things you did last time. You can build upon those things. And so I'm not going to harp on the animal totems anymore, because I've been, putting that out there for so long. But all these different animal totems have different attributes. These are different characteristics that are useful to you. Jordan Peterson talks about, what is it that makes, I'm not sure the words he used exactly, but it was something along the lines of talking about gods and what made, that they were a culmination of all the best qualities of the leaders that came before. The gods, maybe not actually a person, but maybe they were like programs that you could assimilate, download, integrate, that lived on through time, that you could access because they were in the ether, they were in the subconscious mind, available like an app. And I think he was saying that Marduk, which is one of the oldest gods, his main two abilities, characteristics that were most useful, is that he had vision all around 360 degrees. You could see in every direction and long distance. I would assume that's into the future or through different timelines. and that he had a net where he could cast a net around concepts and around abstract ideas and information and bring them down into concepts that were usable and useful. So the idea is that these animal totems aren't the be all and end all, but they're like movements of the mind that you can drill, that you can practice, that are going to set you up for success in other areas that you're going to lead you, that you're going to inevitably fall into, because as you manifest a cup of coffee in a parking space and a check in the mail, then that is a new foundation for you to build upon to something else and something else. And on you go into this unlimited, limitless field of infinite possibility and potential. Is this interesting so far? Is this useful? So there's mainly two sides to this, and it's pretty obvious. This one is you sort of get into this and start moving forward and drilling, and then maybe you get a bit of progress here and a bit of success there, and inevitably you're going to come up against these blockages. You're going to get resistance. These things aren't going to work. You're like, why isn't it working? And then you're going to realize, I've come up against the edge of my thinking from my past. I've come up against the edge of my personality. This is as far as the program goes. If I want to move from this circle to this circle, I need to change a few things. So maybe I need to let go of some stuff. Maybe I need to bring in some new stuff. Integrate and discard. Right. So this whole concept of letting go, what is letting go? What is it? So just let go. Okay, well, I'm letting go and nothing's changing. Like, it's not like putting a physical weight down. It's in my thinking. It's in my makeup. Like, how do I let go of myself? And when I do, what happens to me? How do I do this? How do I let go? What is it? Letting go. Do you know? So for me, when I come up against these edges, I do my best not to retract and go back into my old self, right? I try to maintain this objectivity, this bird's eye view, like the eagle looking down on the land and seeing the whole picture at once if I can. And I'm like, what is actually happening here? What does the programming look like? What's it made up of? What's it connected to? What are the emotions attached to it? What do I think's going to happen when I let go? And what do I think's going to happen if I don't let go? So Tony Robbins did this exercise called the Scrooge technique. It's a pretty old one. Most people are familiar with this. And you'd have a subject there and you'd be like, I want this new future reality. He goes, okay, where are you now? And they get really clear and define it. And he'd say, okay, think about what would happen if you didn't take action in the next year, and feel how that feels and feel the pain associated to it. And then he goes out, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, as far as you can, until the person's like in excruciating mental, emotional pain. And then he gives them an option. Well, maybe you should go this way instead. And they let go of everything that is kind of holding them back, or as much as they can in that moment, and they jump and shift their personality a bit. I was thinking about this today, and people say, oh, let go of your ego, let go of your ego. And a lot of us are taught that the ego is like narcissistic, it thinks it's better than others. It definitely could not be, you definitely could not embody a godlike perspective towards life, because that would be seen as egotistical to the masses, right? For example. But then I thought, okay, well, what if the thing I need to let go of, what if the ego that I need to let go of is the Clark Kent identity, the one who's unsure of himself, the one who doubts that he can have what he wants, the one who doesn't believe that he's strong enough, all these things. What if you let go of that aspect? What if you go back all the way back to before that you were you, and you saw yourself as inherently, naturally already having everything that you need? Your genetic propensity comes from a long lineage, for example. People are like, oh, the ancestors. I draw from my ancestors. It's a good device. It's a good mental device. One that I heard really, which is really cool recently, was, I think it's Billy Carson. Let me just check that. Billy Carson, yeah. And we're talking about DNA. I think I posted it earlier. He talks about DNA and something like, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of petabytes is stored in a single strand of DNA. Now, petabyte is a massive amount of information. Like, your hard drive might be a terabyte. I don't know what the petabyte to terabyte is, but it's like going from 1,000 to 1,000,000, right? And he was saying something like, you can store something like 13.5 billion petabytes in a DNA. Don't quote me on the numbers. And he said, and that, interestingly, that's how old the universe is according to science. So what that means is, in one strand of DNA, you have the entire information data set of the universe from its conception. It's a really powerful thought to consider before manifesting anything. It's already all there. And, using these types of patterns to think about, you don't have to use sort of faith and belief, because it's science, right? Now, I know science has had a bit of a bad rap in the last couple of years with all the weird stuff that happened. But when you look at science as a model of thinking, this is a body of thought that has been agreed upon by the majority of minds and is verifiable and has been tested and retested independently and gotten the same results, which, in line with the concept of that it's a matrix, a simulation, and everything that we think and feel is just thoughts and emotions that manifest into our physical reality. Then these are like thought forms that have stood the test of time, right? They're reliable, they're dependable. if they were on the internet, they'd be open source. Like you shut one server down, you can get it on another one. And it gets constantly updated and upgraded by everybody, like Wikipedia. Maybe not a good example. You get my meaning. And so these thought forms are resilient, they're not easily broken down under scrutiny or testing or when challenged. And as we get towards the end of this session, I just want to leave you with another thought to add into that is I heard once somewhere that the most resilient thought form is a meme. Isn't that interesting? It's a meme. And here we are, getting memed by me all day long, every day, having a good laugh, having a good chuckle. But isn't it interesting when I go, okay, think back a week, don't think too hard, just allow your unconscious mind to come up with the answer. And don't resist. And think of your favorite meme from last week, and it should just go and pop up in your mind. One that was most impactful to you. Chances of you forgetting that one is probably not that likely. I did that other post the other day. Someone tells me, can you send me that meme from last month? And the guy's like, you know what I'm talking about. It's a poor impersonation, but you all get the picture, right? And we all have a good laugh. But those memes are resilient, right? They're strong. They hold up. They're usable. They're dependable. Jerry, don't be an ass. Thank you, Kate. Chiming in. So one thing that happened in there's two things I want to talk about. One thing that happened recently, everyone knows, training at the academy, do jiu-jitsu, and Taliesin Suarez, the reigning consecutive multi-level world champion again, won the black belt competition in Paris, I think it was, the European National Championship again. And not only did he win it convincingly through submission, but he used move of the week that we're training to learn this week. So, most of us either are, some of us are watching the live stream at 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever it was. That wasn't me, but the next morning we're all seeing it on social media, the posts, his feed, Millie's feed, other people in the gym are all sharing it. And we're all like, that's fucking move of the week. He's just won the world championship with move of the week. He's not doing anything special in terms of we've never seen this move before. He's using stuff we did in class, like yesterday. And so one of the guys I was talking with said, by doing that, whether it was intentional or not, he shared that win, that potential with the entire community in Byron. We all, from the senior black belts all the way down to the peewee, little ninja white belt that just started a month ago, we all got to share in that win, even just a little bit, because we've all learned that move this week. We can all do that, and I thought that was, just beautiful. And so, when we talk about stuff in here, some of the concepts are going to be out there and maybe they're not usable straight away. But, like maybe the armadillo is something you can tap into and start playing with. Because, that got me through some pretty crazy shit in Los Angeles, 3-4 years ago. And the fox got me all over Italy, following the thread of staying connected for a good several months. And even when I fell off the beam, it got me back in there pretty fast. And I saw amazing things. It was kind of like having this personal little guide through Europe, and I'd never been there before. So it's something that we can all use straight away. It's not difficult to learn. But what's the line? The technique is vast in its depth and efficacy, and furthermore, utility. And sometimes you just need a bit of time on the tools to get your bearings. So many synchronicities. Yeah. Speaking of synchronicity, this was the other thing I wanted to bring up. Now, I'm going to bring up an image here so you can all see. Yeah, here it is. So I saw this today. It's always been in my mind. And I saw this today. I'm putting the comments right now. Why can't I put it in there? No, put it in the feed. This is an image that I saw when I was just a kid. I think the first time I saw it, I was watching TV at my grandparents' place. And it's the Aston Martin DB5, the one that was featured in Goldfinger, the 1963 Sean Connery James Bond movie. And it's always been like this icon. It's not an image that I was consciously creating, but always, as far as the ultimate car goes, that's probably one of them. And I hadn't really thought about it much, especially after driving the Tesla, because it's super advanced, but this thing is just a vintage, beautiful piece of machinery. And I pick up Molly from daycare. The timing of this is just unbelievable too. I don't know if you can hear Molly snoring in the background. So I have to pick up Molly from daycare. Molly needs walking. I've got just enough time to take her around the lake, come back, and rush into town and pick up Molly. I get there, and Molly's just started daycare, and I get in there and I'm expecting her to be like, "Oh, why did you leave me? Get me the fuck out of this place." And she has a little moment, and then she's like showing me around, and like, "Oh, look at this, and look at this, and look at this toy." And I'm like, "Oh, I think she's feeling okay here." And then we realized yesterday she left a we're missing a blanket. It's like, where's this blanket? And they're like, they can't find this blanket. Where the hell could this blanket have gone, right? They're checking every cupboard, they're checking every room. They've got like 3 staff members over the course of 10 minutes, tagging in and trying to, run the place and still find this blanket. And they said, oh, look, sorry, we can't find it. I said, well, it's got to be around somewhere. When you find it, just put it aside and we'll pick it up next time. And I start heading back, and I'm driving back through town, past the police station, if anyone knows what I'm talking about in Byron. And the police are set up like they usually are, doing breath testing. And around the roundabout is this truck, flat tray truck with this Aston Martin DB5, 1962, 63, whatever model it is, in perfect condition, just like the one in the picture. And I was like, what the fuck? Did I actually see this? Because I've never in my life seen one. They are so rare. They are so rare that I thought, if ever I'm going to see one, I'll have to be like in Europe or in a city somewhere. And then it goes past on a fucking flatbed truck on my way home. And I was like, what is going on here, right? Now, most people go, oh, yeah, somebody bought that and it's getting delivered and, third dimensional, yes. Some rich prick has got my car, right? And they're going to enjoy it. And it's just one of those things. And, oh, yeah, Byron's a quite affluent place, and there's a lot of people who are very affluent, and someone's bound to want one of those and can afford it, and there it is. But I look at it differently, and I go, okay, well, if this is all a dream, simulation, this is all based on your thoughts and feelings. I thought, well, my subconscious is bursting through here somewhere. My subconscious just popped up in my reality. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't wishing for it to happen. I wasn't like, manifest my dream car or anything like that. It just showed up in the most unlikely time and place. I would never have guessed I would see one then and there. I thought I'd have to go to a showroom or something, some collector's glass box, where they never drive the thing. Here it is, just going past. And it was really, it was profound for me because, I said earlier, I go through the same emotions. I go through the same struggles. There are times where I find it really fucking hard to do this and to create what I want. There's times where I find it really hard to let go of myself, my old self. I find it really hard to see what it is I need to do sometimes. And just today, I was speaking with someone and going, I need a breakthrough. I need something to happen to show me that this, whatever this was I've been going through, is finally finished, that I've moved beyond myself somehow. And there it is. Boom. And it's so symbolic. It's like an animal totem. There is so much linked to that image, that symbol for me, way back when I was just a little kid. That it just, like, to anyone else, oh yeah, it was a nice car that drove past. Some people, we didn't even know what it was. Other people explain it away. But for me, it was like, no, Because sometimes, I remember when I was doing these courses with Dr. Joe Dispenza, he would say, when he would create his day, he would ask for evidence from the universe. He would say, I want you to show up in a way where I will least expect, where there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that I'm being supported by the universe. And I haven't received, I get a lot of little things coming to me all the time and little wins, but I haven't had a big breakthrough in such a long time, or it feels that way. And so there it was. And it was really, it was great. I can clear on, I can feel this. It's a continuous reminder of the connection we have to the universe. Yeah, thanks. When those things happen, that's when we really start to feel connected in the moment to the magic of life. And it shows up in ways, not in all of your identity, personality, smarts, deviousness, manipulation, cleverness. You can't make that stuff happen. You can't make it up, they say. You can't make this stuff up. When Dr. Joe would talk to his audience, he would say, I have this email file that people send me after doing the courses, and it's always got pretty much the same title. You're not going to believe this. And then the story starts. And the funny thing is, when you have these mystical experiences, let's say, for you, they're like this, whoa, holy shit, profound moment. But for everyone else, they're either unnoticeable, they're pretty ordinary, or they just, people just don't get it. They can't share in that experience with you. But they change you when they happen. They reinforce you. For me, it's kind of like in that image in Man of Steel, with Henry Cavill, where he starts jumping and jumping and jumping, and then all of a sudden he's flying. It's a bit shaky, and then he's like, and then takes off again. He's like, yeah, you feel like a little kid. Yeah. Like you tapped in, like, yeah, it works. It really works. And it happens again, and you get reinforced again. And so when I was focusing on the fox and the animal totems and creating this curriculum levels training, the idea, if someone said to me, Brett, on the 1st of February, after a long, hard slog of introspection, excavation, personal change, struggle, heartache, adversity, going through the dark night of the soul, all the doubt, the fear, the insecurity, the feeling like Clark Kent is all you really are, that Superman is just a myth and something in your imagination. When that Aston Martin pulled around the corner, that was like, cannot express the feeling. Maybe you can sense it, maybe you can get a taste of what I'm talking about. But for me, it was so personal. It was so personal to me. It was like, here you go. Here's the symbol you've been looking for. Here's the sign. It is undeniable for you. And it was so funny because it's not like I'm driving along and I saw it come around the corner. I almost missed it. It was kind of like something went, oh, look over there. And I just got a glimpse and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? Did I actually see that? Did that actually happen? Yeah, it happened. I saw it. And here's the best part. When you have these experiences, like me right now, I'm a little bit like, oh, it's still a bit up in the air. It's still a bit ungrounded. It's still a bit etheric. It's still a bit, did it happen? Did it not? But I'll go to sleep tonight, and this will happen to you too. You go to sleep at night, and when your personality or identity shuts off, you go unconscious, then subconscious mind starts to integrate, goes to work. Everything settles down, reorganizes, reboots the system. The new operating system kicks in. All those programs you've been working on for so long and refining and changing and rewriting and testing over and over and over, all those things, they reboot. Boom, you wake up in the morning and you are a different version of you. And from tomorrow on, just like that scene in Fight Club, tomorrow will be the greatest day of his life. He'll wake up and he'll eat the breakfast, and he'll have that breakfast will be the best tasting breakfast he's ever had. It's still the same breakfast. You're still in your kitchen. Everything looks exactly the same, but you're not the same anymore. And from then on, everything is going to change. Change because you've either leveled up, or change because you've let go of all these things that were keeping you as Clark Kent instead of Superman, or both. But as of tomorrow, for example, you're Superman and you're pretending to be Clark Kent. You're not Clark Kent trying to be Superman. And it's all the difference. So, went a little bit over tonight. I'm going to leave it there. Hope all that helps. I hope you have some material for next week. Maybe you'll have some questions or some prompts for next week. That would really help. But we'll finish up there. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your energy. We'll see you on the next video. And bye for now.